Welcome to the College Knowledge Podcast, sponsored by the College Planning Network and Paradigm Financial Group. Whether you're searching for that right fit college, applying to college, or figuring out how you're going to afford it all, you're in the right place. You'll hear from deans, admissions counselors, student athletes, and scholars from esteemed universities and colleges around the country. We'll dig deep to uncover their insight and unique experiences. So whether you're a student gearing up for college or a parent with college-bound kids, sit back, relax, and listen. Like you, we have lots of questions. Our guests have the answers, and we're excited to share them with you. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of College Knowledge. I am your host today, Joe Kerns, also known as Joe the College Pro. Normally, I would be joined by my partner in crime, Dave Kozak, but apparently rumor has it that he's trying to get pretty big on TikTok, and he's apparently at the driving range all morning trying to hit a golf ball into a solo cup, and I've heard that the solo cup is winning. But on to today's topic, jobs. Now, let's be honest, the main reason that most parents are going to send their kids to college isn't just for the education. It is meant to be a launch pad to get out of the house, out of the basement, not come home, be the boomerang student, but get out into the workforce and start a career. And today in studio, which is a great gift for us because not something that happens very often these days, we have a fantastic guest to talk about exactly that, how students can find work, meaningful work that's going to fit their schedule and build their future. So joining me today is Cole Frank. He's the co-founder of UFlex, a platform built to help students work, learn, and earn by connecting them with flexible remote opportunities that are going to align with their career goals. This is a conversation that you do not want to miss. So Cole, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Before we get into the UFlex stuff, you're a recent graduate, Wake Forest.
Wake Forest.
So tell me what the high school journey was like. Why did you choose Wake? What did you choose it over any other schools? Walk me through what the process was like for you.
So for me, it was pretty simple. I had a very fortunate time in high school. I went to a private school called Gilman in Baltimore, Maryland. We're very fortunate to have really good college counselors.
Nice.
And before the beginning of my junior year, my college counselor approached me and he was like, you know, your grades, they're pretty good. And he suggested that I do ED over the summer to a bunch of schools.
Okay.
One of these schools was, of course, Wake Forest. So I spent my summer actually going into my senior year doing the applications all summer. And then September 7th, as school started, I was accepted into Wake ED. And I spent my senior year just trying to maintain my grade average and get through the year without too many mishaps. And my junior year, COVID struck. So all of my finals were online. Going to my senior year, it was hybrid. So I had more of a relatively easy time getting into college than I think most students, but I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate to have this college counselor basically approach me, tell me the steps, tell me what I need to do, and I wouldn't have changed it for the world.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting because I'm curious, not to put you down at all, but obviously during the pandemic era, the application and the admissions things went nuts. And I think a lot of colleges may even been like, are we going to get enough students? Are we going to have to stay virtual? So kind of getting ED that year may have been really a step up.
It was absolutely beneficial. There was a lot of uncertainty in that time. And what made knowing what you want so clearly, so great, is that you could show so much interest into a college. I did rounds of interviews with Wake Forest admissions. It was like getting a job, actually, where it was almost like it was more of who you are and what you've done rather than your GPA or any of that. Because during that time, it was crazy.
Sure.
Right?
Chaos.
It was chaos. Yeah. Perfect way to put it.
Yeah. So what did you go to school for? Did you declare a major as ED? Did you know what you wanted to do? Tell me about that.
I'll tell you, I had no clue what I wanted.
All right.
My freshman year, still had no clue. It was really my sophomore year where I met an economics professor, which I eventually majored in and got my Bachelor of Arts in, that I really figured out what I wanted to do. I really liked the theoretical side of economics, statistical economics, game theory, and all of that. This honestly sort of goes into how I started the business, but I took a class called labor economics or economics of the labor market. And what I found and what you guys talk about on the show all the time is what is the benefit of going to school? What's the benefit of getting a master's? What is the opportunity cost and where's the equilibrium? And I found that class to be vastly interesting. It was amazing. And just because I was in school at the time, learning about what's the cost of going to school. And what made it great is that it's declined over time. Going to school, getting a master's, it's only gone down just because the price of school has gone up so much.
Right. You're talking about like the return on the investment.
The return investment, yeah. It was interesting to me because I went to an expensive school and I was looking, and if you go to a school that costs $60,000, but the average salary for a student graduating is $50,000, where's really the big return there?
Yeah.
Obviously, you get an education, but over time, now you're facing debt. Now you're facing more tasks and more struggles. And I found that to be super interesting because it is all risk and opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's why I started my company, because the point of college is to get a job.
Yeah.
Right. And it is to have fun. I had a great time in college. I wouldn't have traded my experience for the world.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you go there to get a degree. Your degree is pointing you to where your career is going to go.
Before I move on, again, like how this company came about and the origin story on that front, I have heard that Wake Forest has one of the best career services in the country.
Absolutely.
What was your experience with that? Did that have anything to do with where you're at today?
Yeah, so the OPCD, the Office of Personal Career Development, is absolutely phenomenal. The entrepreneurship program at Wake runs in tandem with them because OPCD will help you find a job. Entrepreneurship is you creating something out of thin air, and both lead to having a career. The OPCD is great. A lot of my friends used it. I personally went a few times, but I was very fortunate to work in an industry that didn't demand the OPCD as much. But for my friends working in finance or tech, they loved it.
Yeah.
And their experience was great because they're so hands-on with you. And I think that matters, right? Just understanding the students' needs and then not really holding their hand, but sort of overseeing them through their process of finding a job in college. It means the world to a lot of these students.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about the social, academic, financial fit when you're picking a school. And I'll say this is now episode, I don't know, probably close to 170 or getting closing in on 200 here. And the idea of mentorship throughout every successful person we've talked to, there is always a series of mentors they've had in their life.
Yeah.
Somebody that is saying, you'd be really good at this, or hey, this really seems to push your buttons in the right way. Here's what you could do with that. And hearing that Wake is very, I'll say the way I looked at them in seeing their career is like they really look at the whole person, not just the degree. You know, they really look at that. And I think it's pretty interesting. And I think that that's what sometimes schools have that. Sometimes they don't. But I think as a high school student, you really have to keep that in mind and ask those types of questions when you go visit a campus. You did interviews,
100%.
like understand the culture and what they're going to be doing, essentially not necessarily for you, but helping maybe you find more about yourself. We always love to say that you go to college to learn. You go to college to learn how to learn.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to stop learning.
Of course.
You're always going to be continuing to educate yourself. And that's where I think you don't just go to college, learn that one piece of information, that one field of study, and then you stop and just take that onto the workforce. And I think something like a great career service, especially a track record like Wake, something you have to weigh, but you have to visit. You have to know what that's really about
100%.
to know if that is what you need, what you don't want, or if you like it at Wake and you go to other schools, now you have something to ask and compare. But I think it's a huge deal that people have to look at because, again, the end result of all of this we're about to get into is what's the job after college, right? So you have to start with the end in mind. And I think that'll take us a long way. So, again, talking about the end, I don't know if it's the end, but you have a pretty interesting story about how this whole thing started. So start at the beginning for me.
Sure.
Because you were a student when this started.
Yep.
Right? So walk us through the actual origin story here.
Two things were happening in parallel at the same time my sophomore year. A buddy of mine comes into my room, and little dorm room, I'm sitting in bed, my other roommate's in there. We're just hanging out, talking. My roommate comes in, and it was maybe halfway through the first semester of my sophomore year, and he looks at me and he goes, I can't do it anymore. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's coming in just spewing, and he's like, I just worked for the Wake Forest call center. He cold called alumni in a dark room for 3 hours and made $27.
Okay.
So if you can do some pretty simple math, $9 an hour. And he's freaking out because he just worked this job. He wants to quit. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And at the same time, I had just come from sitting at my desk right to my bed, and I had worked an online remote job, and I had been making $16 an hour. And thinking to myself, like, wow, like I should try to get my friend a job like I'm doing right now. And while I'm thinking about this, the idea didn't really just pop in my head. It's sitting in there over time, and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, wow, it'd be really interesting if all of my friends were working remote jobs like me. You have so much time in college. It's flexible. I work my own hours. My boss just gives me a project. It's like doing homework.
Yeah.
It's doing home, but it's paid homework. And that's what makes it great. And you get real experience. And then I took this labor economics class, and she starts talking about the return on school and getting a master's degree and the investment you do. And it all comes down to you go to college to get a job after college. But a lot of jobs these days require real experience. No longer is it really GPA. It really is what have you done? But in college, you don't work. And it's hard to work. It's hard to find a real corporate job. Most kids do like social media influencing, or they work at a bar, or they work in their library, or they do little jobs. And the goal of our company is to bring real corporate jobs to real students that are hungry and that are ready to work, because experience does matter. And we're moving towards a world where experience is everything.
Yeah.
No longer does a GPA really constitute the full scope of how, who you are and what you can do.
Yeah. So when did the company officially start, by the way?
The company officially started 2 years ago.
Okay.
My co-founder, Steven, who's with us today, joined us last year. And for the past year, we've really been building it. The first year was really idea, validation, understanding the market, understanding if this was possible. And when all those boxes were checked, we were like, let's do this. Let's take that leap. Let's build this. Let's make this a thing.
Yeah. What are some of the challenges that you faced that maybe if there's another entrepreneur out there, what are some of the things that they should know about?
Yeah, I think one thing that took me a while to understand is that it takes time. It doesn't come right away. Rome was not built in a day, but it was built every day.
Yeah.
And I love that because it is so true. You want the end result because you have a vision, you see the vision, you want it to come true, but it takes effort every single day, thinking about it every day, doing one small thing every day to make that vision a reality.
Yeah. So I guess the next question is, what does UFlex do? What is it actually meant to do? Tell me about it. I prepared a little bit for this, but never heard of it.
Yeah.
Tell me what it is. Is it just students, by the way?
It's just college students.
Got it.
So quick elevator pitch. UFlex helps businesses and students connect and collaborate on our platform. We help students get paid experience, and we give businesses results on demand. We're part of the gig economy. So what we do is lightning fast matches, almost like speed dating.
Okay.
Where a business it's really the try before you buy model. GPA doesn't tell the story. How students actually work and operate and collaborate and communicate with you tell much more of how they're going to do during work than a GPA or an interview. So businesses come to us and they want kids that are actually going to work for them during the school year, and then they'll give them internships during the summer, and eventually this all culminates into a full-time job.
Yeah. And is it mainly just remote work? Do you have situations where there's geographical matchups? I know that's a big deal with, hey, you might have an employer that recruits kids from across the country, but, oh, look, 90% of the kids they hire are from local colleges where like they're headquartered at. So talk to me, is it just remote? Is it in person as well?
If the business would like to have a student that's local to them, we can absolutely deliver that. We take preferences from students such as like, where do you want to work after college? We want to know everything about the student. And that's what a recruiter does. And then we want to match them based on what works for them with a business. And I think that the main challenge of matching nowadays is that businesses and students both have to understand what they want. And if they don't understand what they want, the match becomes a lot harder.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we do is understanding what they want. And that's through our software. That's through talking with them, right? We try to get as personal as possible. But businesses so far have enjoyed our service because we do make it more personal.
Yeah.
We do make it more about them and about the student than others do. And that is our goal.
More than just working for a paycheck.
More than just working for a paycheck. And this is an interesting statistic, actually.
Yeah.
55% turnover rate within 2 years of college students going into their first job. Why is that, right? Why is there such a high turnover rate of college students at their first job? And it's because they don't know what they want. It's because they haven't had this experience. Sure. It's because they haven't worked in the real world and they do something for 2 years and they're like, I absolutely hate this. I want to try something new. We're trying to get that experience while they're in school.
Yeah.
So then after school, they're like, I love what I do. I love, the people I'm working for. I worked for them in college. I did little things for them in college. Yeah. That makes a whole difference for a lot of students and for a lot of businesses.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the fact that it's for current college students, it's not necessarily after you've graduated. I love that. It's almost like mini internships.
It's mini internships. There's a few other companies that do similar to what we do, and everyone uses different terms. There's like one that's like gig work. There's one that's micro internships. We call all of our students student contractors, and that's for a reason. Because when you think of a contractor, I think of like a handyman. He comes in a house, he got 12 things you need to do. He can do any of those 12 things. He'll do a good job. You pay him, he's out.
Yeah.
That's exactly what a student does in the businesses we work with.
Okay.
Hey, we need CRM cleanup. We need our financials to be cleaned up. We need a little bit of marketing. We want you to build a competitive pitch deck, a sales deck, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And we can have a multitude or just a single student come in and do that work. And they get the experience, they get paid, and the company gets exactly what they want. But they also get to try them out in the process.
Yeah, and that's where I was going. I mean, where I hear so much success with internships is that it's not always like the first internship that a student did. I thought that's what the job was.
Yeah.
It is not what I want to be doing with the rest of my life.
Exactly.
And they change things. So I love the concept of whatever it may be, but it's essentially it's experience.
Yeah.
Understand yourself a little bit more, understand what specific job roles are. Knowing what you don't like is just as important as knowing what you do. And sometimes you can answer the question what you don't like a lot easier than what do you want to do.
Yeah.
When I tell parents that all the time, kind of starting with the negative, you're dealing with high school students going in there. Where do you want to go? What do you want to major in?
They have no clue.
Okay, where don't you want to go?
Yeah,
they
exactly.
can answer that question.
Yeah.
I don't want to go across the country. I don't want to go to a real big school. Okay, that means there's an opposite to those things. What kind of job are you potentially looking for? Do you want to be traveling? Do you want to be close to home? Where do you not want to work?
And they do the summer internships, right? Our plan is not to disrupt summer internships.
Yeah. Okay.
That's always going to be a thing just because that is the try before you buy for most companies as is. What we're looking for is, okay, you working a financial summer internship, you're on that track to go into some sort of financial job. But maybe you want to work in tech and try out tech for a school year.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to work in marketing for a school year. Maybe you want to do something so just outlandish that just try.
Yeah.
Because you never know what you want. And I think about it, and there's another great way to think about it, which is like going on a date, right? You go to a party, you talk to someone, and okay, you're not just dating right after that. But that's exactly what applying for a job is these days, which is you talk to someone 3 times, 3 rounds of an internship. They see your resume. They're like, all right, you're hired. That's not what happens in real life. What happens in real life is, okay, you talk to someone, then you go on a few dates. And we're the date, right? UFlex is the date, which is try it out. Try a few projects. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? If we like you, we're dating now. And if we don't like you, then it's just not a right match. We'll move on. And it's supposed to be these low stake opportunities for people to just try things.
So give me some feedback from both sides of the aisle, where it's the employers, what feedback you're getting from them, the experience that they've had with these students working. Give me some feedback of the students that have worked. Are you getting complaints from like your roommate? I can't do this anymore. What are you hearing feedback from on both sides?
So we'll start with the students.
Yeah.
And the students love it because they can build it around their schedule. The problem with a job that you have to commute to, you have to put in set hours for, is that it doesn't work with your college schedule.
Yeah.
If you have to study for an exam, but you have a shift at 8 o'clock, you're sort of between a rock and a hard place. But for us, it's like, oh, you have an exam the next day. You don't have to work tonight. You can work after your exam all day tomorrow. So students love it because it's flexible. They get paid. It's easy. It's simple. It's intuitive. And that's what we built it for. We just wanted to make it, if you want to earn some money, if you want to get some experience, come to us.
Okay.
For businesses, they like it because you don't have to pay as much for a student contractor as you would for someone per se on Fiverr or any of those other contracting services, just because those are hardened, legit professionals. And these are students doing very basic tasks. Companies love it because it gives fresh, unique perspectives from a younger generation, Gen Z. They also like it because it's bang, bang, right?
Yeah.
You get on, you post a job, the student does the job, that's it.
Yeah. Is it hours or is it jobs? Is it a deadline? Is it there accountability involved? Walk me through, you said that the schedule's flexible. Is it that, again, it's not call center type situation? Is it, hey, we need this project done by next week? Catch me up to speed on what that's like.
So we have projects and jobs. You can post a project. That's a one-time task. That is going to be just, hey, this is the deadline for it. Get it done by then. If you deliver, we'll pay you. Then we have jobs which are, okay, we're going to work together for a semester. 2 semesters, a couple years, as long as really the company is willing to have the student. And that student gets on, and that's more of where they do repetitive tasks. So like CRM cleanup, cold calls, emails, sales, marketing, really like actually having an internship, but not putting in 40 hours a week, putting in 5 to 15 hours a week on their own time. Everything is, here's the deadline. As long as you get it done, we have no problems. We have automated in some ways through our software to remind the student like, hey, this deadline's coming up. You need to be focused on this and you need to be focused on this. And if you can't deliver, make sure you communicate with the company, because this happens all the time in the real world, which is if you're not going to be able to deliver on a deadline, you have to let them know. And the student is so busy that a lot of the time they may forget. So we like to give these friendly, gentle reminders, which push them in the right direction. Like, hey, your task is coming up. You got to get this done. And the companies love that because they don't necessarily have to micromanage them.
Yeah.
Our software helps them manage them with them.
I like it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think that the experience of that is huge. not all internships are paid. Are all of the potential jobs or things on your platform paid, or are some of them, this is unique that it's, you get the experience, you get to work with us, but you're not being paid?
Yeah, so right now, this has actually been something that we've talked about and I've been contemplating for a while. So right now, all of our jobs are paid. Some companies want to join the platform and give unpaid, I would say, projects and jobs, which we don't see a problem with. However, the incentive for the student decreases, and that might just be something that sits on, their posting might just sit on our platform for a while. And we want to deliver real measurable results to every company that works with us.
Sure.
So we discourage, or we try not to promote unpaid internships. However, we're still okay offering them because we understand that some students really don't care about getting paid. Some students will be on there to get the experience. I think a lot of them will be on there to get the experience, and a lot of them will be on there to get paid, and then the majority of them will be on there to get both.
To add to that, is it competitive pay? Is it the $9? Is it minimum wage?
It's competitive. What we've tried to steer clear of is a lot of our rival agencies or firms that do similar things as UFlex revolve a lot around a very niche scope. So maybe just they only do advertisements and marketing. They only do blank. We want to focus on the full spectrum of what businesses can offer. So in this sense, we can offer more competitive pay because you're doing more corporate tasks, not really what a college student would do, like working at a bar. Or working in a call center. Those warrant less pay. What we're trying to offer are real things that you're going to be doing if you're a freshman in 4 years, right? If you're a senior in 1 year. So that warrants more competitive pay. We really haven't seen anything go down to the $9 range, but we also don't discriminate pay. So businesses can offer whatever they want. We really haven't seen that yet.
Any industries that typically are really good matches or tend to really be open to what you're doing?
So before we started, as I said, we did a ton of research going into this, and we knew that tech was going to dominate the market. They're just more adaptive to remote work. A quick interjection. I would like to say that our company, while we focus on remote work and we do remote work during college, our philosophy is that post-grad, you will be in person. We really, truly believe in working in an office, collaborating with your peers, understanding culture and office culture. And that's why we have an entire section dedicated to company values, student values. What do you value in the office where you work? And remote is a pathway to get experience in college because it makes the most sense. But post-grad, we really do encourage students to go out there and find jobs in person and be in person. That's why we're in person today, right? Like, we love it. I love looking face to face and actually having a conversation.
Again, obviously, you're building showing work experience. You're having college kids that, even whatever it is, they have some type of resume that they can be building upon out into the workforce. Potentially, maybe they have a couple jobs with a company, they work a semester or two, not necessarily where they want to be, but maybe they did such good work, they can have a letter of recommendation come their way. So I think it's definitely the experiences is part of it, but it's definitely a step up on anybody that's trying to just do their true first work experience with a corporate company after you get the degree. I think you definitely would have a leg up with anybody. Obviously, we mentioned how great the career services are at Wake Forest. Have you guys started to integrate with any colleges and their career offices with this?
So our original plan was to work with universities. I'm not going to bash on any universities.
You saying there's politics involved or something like that?
There are politics involved.
Oh, really? You're kidding me.
There is. It's hard because we reached out to universities and they use a multitude of different software services to help their students grow and get into roles. The problem is that a lot of these universities are not open-minded to students working while they're in school, which honestly, it does make sense. They want their kids to succeed academically first, and we do as well. And then the academic success will get them a job. No longer have we found that to be certainly true. I know kids who have 4.0 GPAs that went to all the clubs, and they still are struggling to find jobs. And it's because they never got really good experience during their summers or their internships. And what we're offering is another pathway to get that experience. But a lot of universities, not necessarily discourage, but are a little reserved or reluctant to begin working with us. So right now we've taken a curve around the universities, and our hope is that we will be recognized by the universities when we hit a critical mass of students and jobs, and they see the value that we deliver, but it's not our priority. And eventually, my vision is we would like to work with the universities to have their alumni who have started businesses, who work in businesses, to be on our platform, talking to students from that university. So you have a direct pipeline. And I know that's already a big thing, but there's not really, say, like a real platform for that. And we really think that we can be the first to do that.
Yeah. So I guess one of the, I don't want to say it's a concern, but if I'm looking for a project to be done here and I say, all right, well, let me see, it might be, I can't hire somebody full-time. We have virtual assistants, that are more full-time employees that handle day-to-day tasks, but maybe there's a job or something that comes up. I would obviously, I don't want to say have reservations, but it's, is this really quality control? Am I really getting a quality student? So you mentioned you guys do a lot of work in understanding a little bit of the students. So talk to me about the platform, maybe what makes it a little bit different. How is it that you, I don't want to say ensure, but that you're really finding a good match and that somebody can complete the task that is brought to them? Explain a little bit how the platform, works. I don't want to say behind the scenes, but what people and employers would need to know.
Yeah, I'll give 2 points. The first is our registration process is unlike really anything.
Okay.
And credit to Steven, my co-founder. We really thought through this process for a while. Our registration process is not lightning speed. Some of the other platforms like plug in your phone number and then sign up. Ours is really, okay, we're going to go through, it's 10 minutes, around 10 minutes, and it's purposeful that way. And yes, it might discourage some kids from signing on because it's not the lightning fast speed, but we really gather so much information from our registration process. We have a deeper understanding of the student than really any other platform because of it. It's a 3-step process, and I don't want to give away some of our trade secrets. Part of our process is seeing the student's face, having them talk into a camera, having them talk about who they are, what their hobbies are, what do they like, who are you? We want to understand what you're looking for, who you are, where you've been, what you've done. And that is more important sometimes than, or I think all the time, than the GPA. Obviously, we take GPA transcripts. We verify every student, so they have to sign up through their student email. We don't do phone numbers. We want to make sure that everyone on our platform is real. LinkedIn and some of these other job platforms have been littered with ghost jobs and spam and bots. And we are trying to avoid that like the plague, because we want ours to be really authentic.
Yeah.
We want it to be, you are connecting and collaborating with real businesses, with real people, with people who are ambitious and want it. So that makes us different. And then the second portion of it is the way that we collect student values and company values and profiles. We want students to drop in projects that they've done in school, because the projects that they've done in school can translate into what they can do into the workforce.
Sure, yeah.
So your question was, how do you know if the student can do it?
Yeah.
What is the quality control? And it's, okay, what do you do in school that can translate into this type of work? For example, you want someone that can do marketing. Okay, what are you taking film classes? Upload some of your film to UFlex. Let's see what you've done. They upload the film, the company can look at it, we can look at it, we can be like, this is going to be a good match.
Okay.
This is someone that can do this job, can do it well, and deliver on a deadline.
Yeah, I like it. That side of it is pretty impressive, that it's almost, hey, it's beyond a resume.
It's beyond it's understanding a person on a deeper level, what they can do and who they are and how they'll fit. I think where the internship process has gone is terrible. 4 or 5 rounds of interviews, every post, hundreds and hundreds of applications. It's become wildly competitive. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But before, a company even takes 10 people where there's 10,000 applications, they're throwing half of those applications out.
Yeah.
They're throwing it in the garbage. And I'm not going to say it's unfair, because they have to do their job, but it's just become a broken system. And I'm not saying we're trying to necessarily fix the broken system, but we're trying to lead it into a better direction.
Yeah. I think the other thing that sticks out to me when you mention it's not just about GPA, look, you'll hear a lot of different things about college in general, right? People will say it's not worth it. Again, I don't think it's for everybody. I think there's certain pathways, there's certain careers that you have to do, the education, the experience, the learning how to learn. If you can learn on your own, you can still be successful without college, right? I'm not one to say it's for everyone. But with all that being said, I'm sure there's some courses that you've taken that have absolutely nothing to do with your major.
100%.
If you're not performing well in those, because you don't have a passion for it, brings down your GPA. But if you're someone that is amazing with statistics, but it's that English course that's driving you down, but you can get a job like this. Okay, the GPA doesn't matter because of that's not required for the job. I think that's where it really it sticks out to me as something that is pretty unique. It's not necessarily, again, like you say, that GPA. It's I need somebody to get this job done. If you've got a profile that shows, oh, you've already done this project, exactly what I need, let's give you a test run. And then if that's something I may need once a month, once a quarter, like I can come back to you, hey, I got another, it's the same thing you did last time. You did it well. Do I care if I'm an employer, if I'm getting the job done right and you're getting a D in your Spanish class? Like, well, it doesn't matter to me.
It really does come down to like this philosophical question of what is GPA comprised of?
Yeah.
Okay. You maybe 25% of it is showing up to class, or maybe an attendance grade. Then you have your tests that maybe make up like 60%, maybe a project that's 15.
Yeah.
Does that really show an employer? Does that really show an employer like a person's working ability? It does not. Yeah. So when we were looking at this, and you're right, I took a music class and got a C in it, and that hurts. That hurt my GPA. But does me getting a C in a music class constitute what I can do in whatever career I want to do? Unless it's music. The GPA, it's like the SAT, in my opinion. The SAT is not everyone's a good test taker. So then you're measuring your one measurement to get into college, which I don't think is a bad measurement in itself, but it's not exactly fair. Because some kids might be super bright and super smart. They might be horrible at taking tests. Some kids might not be the most bright, but they study hundreds of hours for the SAT and get a 1400. Okay. Is that a good measurement, really, at the end of the day?
Yeah. I mean, to go into that side of it, I know it doesn't exist as much at the college level, but throughout high school, GPAs have now been inflated to ridiculous levels.
100%.
And the GPAs in this country right now are as high as they've ever been, but standardized test scores are as low as they've ever been.
Yep.
And so where I see as far as some of the college things, and not to disagree with you at all, but the standardized tests across the board, can it be unfair that some kids have the time, the resources to do well at it? Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they're still not potentially, okay, they have time and resources. That means they might be a good student. It might mean they be a good employee.
Yeah.
There are bad test takers out there. It's not a bad thing, but in the college admissions world, if you're sitting on a 4.5 GPA, but you can't crack 1100 on the SAT, it's kind of a telltale sign that your GPA is inflated. Yeah. That maybe 100%. The high school was not as, rigorous strict. You got all this. So I think that's where certain things like AP test and what did you score on AP tests? What did you get on the SAT? All of that, it has to essentially still be what you're saying. Like it's all of these things combined. To solely say it's one, I don't agree with.
Okay, I can agree with that
but
as well. Yeah.
You have to really look at the entire body of work. And if the SAT score correlates with the rest of the work, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's where you're going to say, okay, there's somebody that has worked their tail off. They've done the
work.
4.2 GPA. They've got 10 AP courses and they scored a 1400 on the SAT. They're probably going to be a good student. Yeah. Regardless, again, I'm not talking, it's numbers are numbers in that aspect, but you also have kids that, hey, on the flip side, if I got a 3.1 and I'm getting a 1500 on the SAT, now it looks like you're a genius, but you don't put in the work.
Yeah. So then you're in a tricky situation.
Correct.
Because colleges are all about, are you going to show up to class and are you going to get it done?
Yeah. The origin of the SAT was simply meant to be, what is your first year GPA going to be? That was it. It was trying to evaluate your knowledge that when you come onto a campus, that how ready are you that you're going to get a higher GPA? And obviously GPAs are huge for college with rankings and things like that. And again, just like an employer, right? When you hire somebody or you accept a student, you want to make sure that they can do the work, that they're not going to drop out. They're not going to quit. They're not going to leave for something else. So all of these things go into an admission side that very much, you mentioned like your interviews with Wake was like a job interview. Yes, it is. They are so similar. They are so similar in that's what a recruiter, an employer that's hiring somebody. And I mentioned like the geographic side of things. So numbers show that there are certain employers, they may recruit across the country, but they also have a history that, okay, if they're located in Georgia and they hire students that are graduating from California, if 90% of the employees they hire leave after 2 years, they're going to stop hiring kids from California. And that's also what happens in the admissions world. If we keep accepting kids from this area, this high school, but they don't come, why are we wasting an admission seat on those kids? So it's just interesting how you brought it up. It's been on my mind to hit on some of that, but you're completely right. I think students, it's kind of a little off topic, but you do have to look at choosing a college, much how you're talking about
100%
a job. The GPAs and SAT scores, the essays are huge. huge with college admissions right now. And again, it all leads to the end of the road, which is the job. The one thing I do have to bring up, and I'm curious if maybe you've seen this, maybe you haven't, but there was a recent study that came across, and I'll take it you're Gen Z, right? You're Gen Z.
You're correct.
All right. A bunch of people have made articles on this, but 77% of Gen Z job seekers are bringing a parent to the interview.
Wow.
More than half of Gen Z current hires had their parents speak to the hiring manager.
Interesting. So are they actually physically bringing them to the interview, or is this like a...
Whether it's a Zoom interview, whether it's, and again, it could be, I'll say, support that they're in the waiting room with them, but parents are heavily involved with Gen Z right now, at least from this one study, the survey that was done, that they're helping write resumes. Again, I've read that there are parents that are sitting in on interviews. Like I said, they're speaking to hiring managers. So my one question, it sounds like your process eliminates this, but is there any way a parent can create a profile on your platform for their child?
As I said before, part of our registration process includes a video that the student has to record themselves talking into the camera. So theoretically, the parent could sign up and get through 66% of the process, but that third step would stop them because we manually check, and we have people that manually check. If we're going through and then all of a sudden it's a 50-year-old man and the camera, please let my student in, that's a decline. You know, that's get him out of here. We would never let that happen, and we would try to prevent that. That is an absolutely mind-blowing statistic. I've actually have not heard of that. That honestly is scary. And you know why it's scary is because in the real world, your parents aren't going to hold your hand.
Right.
What our entire philosophy is, we're trying to get you prepared for the real world. We want to give you real experience.
You want to be independent.
The kids that come to our platform are kids that are ambitious. They're hungry. They want to work, whether it's for a financial need or whether it's for an experience need. They're coming and doing really good work. And that's what we've seen so far. But as we grow, I would not doubt that cases like that might come up. But that is scary because college is supposed to be your separation of parent and child, where your child gets his first step into being independent. And college is preparing you for the real world. So then the next you would hope so. That next step is really true independence, which is getting an apartment, living alone, making your own meals, you know, doing those things. The fact that they're showing up to job interviews is mind-boggling, and it's almost like an intimidation tactic. I brought my mom. Like, why did you bring your mom? She's going to stare you down during the interview. Like, you know, that's sort of crazy.
Yeah, I was blown away by it. I'm not Gen Z. I'm on the cusp of millennial, but there's different work ethics that people assume when you look at it and say, Gen Z is not really working. Different, I'll say TikToks and Instagram. And it's, man, I got my degree and the only job I can get is customer service. I'm like, yes, that's what a first job out of college is.
That's where you start.
You work your way up if you don't understand that. So I can relate to some of it where it's, wow, were you not really, again, what did you learn in college? Did they not kind of prepare you for the real world? So when you see that, and again, sometimes the college landscape where it's at right now, there are questions without a doubt. And that's where I think some people do have they always come to me like, is it really worth it? I'm like, look, if your kid's going to go for the right reason, 100% it is. You know, if it's a job that they need, there's still jobs there that need degrees. But if you're going to go, that's not necessarily, you got to have an end game in mind. And again, the independence. Where do you want to be at the end of 4 years? If you can't sit there and say, I'm going to college so I can go to a job interview without my parents, if that's not on the to-do list, you're not going to college for the right reasons.
That's a problem.
So I guess obviously when I first came into this, and I know you've answered a lot of it, but how is this a little bit different than LinkedIn? How is this different than, I know I think Wake Forest use it too, Handshake, you know, to kind of help get kids, graduates jobs, I think is more on that front. So there's obviously some differences. So the platform, is it more, I don't want to say social media-esque, but walk me through, like, was it LinkedIn, students that just sign up? Is it free to enroll? Walk me through.
Free to enroll for students, free to enroll for businesses. We want to get them on the platform. We don't want to have any barriers to entry there. LinkedIn and Handshake have become another form of social media. LinkedIn, I wouldn't even make a comparison to LinkedIn just because LinkedIn is all about showing how you've moved up, where you've moved up, and posting what you do. We're not posting what we do. We are doing it. We're actually facilitating the entire process from a student looking for a job in a company looking for someone to work for them to them actually working. So our software handles compliance, recruitment, payments. We handle the full spectrum. And Handshake's a great company. They've helped a lot of my friends get jobs, and I would not bash Handshake because they truly do a really good thing for students.
Yeah, especially across country, regional area.
And they've done a phenomenal job, and what they've built out is really great. They're another job platform. We're not a marketplace. We have a marketplace, but we're not a marketplace. What we are is we're discovery and validation. Discovery is the marketplace, but validation is getting the student in there, getting him working, getting him doing the jobs, testing him out, seeing how he communicates, how he collaborates, how he works with others, seeing can he deliver on a deadline? Can he think a hard problem through?
Yeah.
And we're really more about the validation part.
Yeah, I feel like you almost summed it up where you said you're getting paid to do homework. Right?
Yeah.
It's the project side of things that you're taking what you learn in the classroom, putting it into real world situations.
Exactly.
And if you do it right,
you're golden.
Yeah,
you're getting paid and you're getting real experience.
Yeah.
If you do it wrong, maybe it's because you didn't like the project, or maybe you just fell behind and didn't have the time. And if that happens, we make it up to the company. We never want a bad match to happen, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You can't prevent it. It's something that's unpreventable.
Yeah.
But most of our matches have been, almost all of them have been very positive matches. But it is like doing homework, right?
Yeah.
It really is. Hey, I need to sit down for 2 hours. I need to work on this project for the next 2 weeks, every night for 2 hours. And I'm going to do it right after my homework. I get paid blank amount at the end, and I'm going to be able to put on my resume.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah.
It's almost a no-brainer.
you've mentioned, I know some of the jobs you were saying, like cleaning up CRM.
Yeah.
Are there any jobs that you typically see more of, hey, this is a pretty standard project or job that we see across multiple companies? Is there anything that really stands out to you?
Research.
Yeah.
Companies love students researching. It's really for two things. One, gets them knowledgeable about the industry they're in, gets them knowledgeable about what they do, it gets them knowledgeable about how they operate. So then you're basically integrating the student into your business while because they're researching.
Yeah.
But then they get to deliver research results, and it tells them the way their industries are going, what is new, what's working, what's not working. And businesses love that because it's a fresh perspective. If you've been in an industry for 20 years, you have a kid come in and tell you something you've never heard. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
The other thing it shows is how passionate is a student about an industry. A lot of hiring these days is, as we've spoken before, it's about who you are as a person. If you're super passionate about an industry and you do really well on a research project, company's going to love you.
Sure.
They love that.
Yeah. And I know so many students out there, unfortunately, like they want to get into the research world while they're in college.
Yeah.
And at some schools, that doesn't take
Exists.
place until they only let graduate students do research.
Yeah.
Or they're researching something that's not really up their wheelhouse.
Or relevant, yeah.
I've met abundance of students that get a little frustrated that they were hoping, and again, I kind of say, well, that's something you should have figured out on the college visit, not when you're on campus and now upset. Like you should have been asking those questions.
Yeah.
Find that right academic fit for you.
Absolutely.
But if you happen to fall into that, now there's essentially another resource that you can do something to hone your skills, make you get better at it every time, and it's something you're passionate about. That's great. Love that. Yeah, that's good stuff.
I'd actually like to say one thing.
Sure.
And this is for your general audience because I've listened to a bunch of your podcasts. And I want to actually give a quick shout out to the Wake Forest Startup Lab Entrepreneurship Program. I went through it. It was great. It helped me develop my business. It means the world to me. My professors, Dan Cohen and Greg Poole, they are world-class entrepreneurs and have really helped me grow as a person and as an entrepreneur. But something that's interesting about entrepreneurship, and this is for your audience, and this is a little insight, is that if you have a student or a kid that's about to apply for college and they're looking to do something within entrepreneurship, start a business, or just interested in the topic in general, you got to look at schools and what they offer for entrepreneurship very closely. Some schools, like Wake Forest, give you a grant and it's a non-equity grant. So they take no equity in the business and they're just there to see you succeed. They give you money, they give you mentorship. I had mentors every week talking to new people, understanding what they've done, but some colleges will take equity. And if you're trying to start a business in college like I have, it's very important to know what schools do and what schools don't.
Yeah.
And it's because, do you really want to give a slice of the pie to your academic program? And in the long run, that slice of the pie could mean a lot of money.
Sure.
And I just wanted to interject real quick and say that because it is extremely important.
Yeah.
If you have a student that's looking to do something something in entrepreneurship, that is something that you should be researching in schools.
I get the whole building your college list. If that's what you're looking to do, that should be one of the top questions you're asking at every school you visit.
Yeah. And look, I was fortunate enough. I didn't know I wanted to do entrepreneurship, but I was fortunate enough to end up at a school where they didn't take equity, and they do just really want to see you succeed and give you a grant. But it's important to point out, because I do know people that have gotten burned on it, but not necessarily burned, because they still take you through and they do a great job for you, but you never want to give up anything that you're working on and they're really not working on. So I thought it was an important point.
No, I love it. Absolutely. So as we wrap up, I always like to do, when we have time, a lightning round.
Sure.
So this is real quick, just short, quick answers. I'm going to throw some maybe off the wall questions at you, but let's see how fast you are. What is one lesson that you learned as a student and as a founder of a business that no textbook can teach you?
Showing up means everything.
Okay. Best piece of advice that you've received while you're building UFlex?
Find someone that can do software development, because we're a software company. I found my cousin. Don't use a third party. They don't build your vision with you. They build it for you. You want someone that builds it with you.
Yeah. What's the strangest or most unexpected remote job you've seen on UFlex?
Wow, that's a really good one. Someone took a job, and the job was just creating koozies, like just designing koozies for a company.
All right.
Yeah.
Like it. And if you could partner with any company to expand UFlex, who would it be and why?
That's another great question. There's a lot of good companies out there that we would love to work with. Wow, I'm actually stumped there. OpenAI.
Right.
They're doing some really interesting things. Everyone knows them, and they're a very well-known business. And I'm curious to see the role of students using AI in the future. And I would like to see how students really become more valuable because of their AI knowledge.
Yeah.
Having a company like that come on, partner with us, teach kids about how to use AI, how to prompt, how to do these different things, that could be extremely valuable.
Look, Cole, this has been excellent.
A pleasure.
Absolutely loved
pleasure.
our time together. I think what you're doing is great.
Thank you.
And again, just from the college aspect of getting kids the experience, again, I think that the best way I can talk about it is like that mini internship, a paid mini internship to get experience, apply what you're learning in the classroom in the real world, show your skills, potentially get you into that job market, what it's all about. So I think it's wonderful. I think it's something that colleges should be embracing.
Of course.
We'll see if you can get over the politics with it. But I wish you the best of luck, and I think what you're doing is a great thing. And thanks for talking about it and being on the show today.
Hey, thank you so much for having us. I'm going to plug ourselves real quick. www.uflex.us. Come check us out. We accept most students, and we would love to have you. Hey,
great. Make sure you check them out. Yeah.
And guess what? Thank you for having us. This was a pleasure.
No, this was
a lot
great.
Of fun.
Yeah, this was great. So to our listeners, listen, if you have a college-bound student or a student right now that's in college, I think this is the conversation that you do not want to miss. If you want to make more out of this, make sure to check out UFlex and their journey. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay sane. Take care.